Hello and welcome back to our Twitch stream. So our game development series on Twitch. So I'm Nick and I'm with Karen. Adrienne is unfortunately sick today, but we managed to get a screenshot of her so that way she can stare at Karen the whole stream. Um, Before we get into the core material, I just want to go over some stream logistics. So we are live. This is our fourth part of this series. If you notice that there's any kind of audio issues, any kind of video issues, drop them in the chat so that way we can work to correct them. If my internet seems to spaz out, don't worry. I am recording a copy as well, so it will go up on YouTube and it will be a higher quality version. But I think that's all from a logistics standpoint. Anything you have, Karen?
No, but we miss you, Adrienne. We hope you feel better soon. So I'm going to give her the
definitely.
stink eye.
You're gonna get, I think you're looking the wrong way.
Oh.
There you go.
Oh, wait, there. I'm doing this. Anyway, I don't know. I'll take her down.
She'll probably show up in the chat later. So, I mean, as far as a recap, I mean, this is a game development series, as you can see from our fancy new background that Emily Nguyen created for us from our design team. We're doing a Fall Guys kind of inspired game. So this is a tribute game that we're going to be building with Unity and MongoDB and kind of make our version of it in our own way. The last stream we focused on, what do we focus on, Karen?
So we've had like 3 streams already. We talked a lot about the data and how to get the data going. One stream we talked about the data model, the type of information that we want to have. The next stream we thought something was wrong with our data. We ran some aggregations to correct it, and came up with some cool names stuff for our players. We have about 14 players now, and we also Nick. We started coding last week, coding the actual stuff. Nick brought up Express and Node, and he created some endpoints to get our plummies to add a plumbie, to modify a plumbie, and to delete a plumbie. And that took him forever. And then I did it in Realm, and it took me like 3 minutes to do everything that Nick did. So you're welcome. So you're welcome for that. But we also wrote it down, and we'll share it. Actually, we wrote it down. Nick will show you in a second. We're coming up with a blog. So if you weren't able to follow along on the stream and you wanted to kind of code along with us, we'll have that code for you as well. Yeah, there you go. So this is a blog we have staged now, and hopefully we'll push it live next week. Is that what it's the next Monday, maybe?
October 1st is what we're targeting. So, I mean, if you missed out on the streams, you could always watch them live on demand on YouTube. But if you'd prefer to consume your content in a written format, with some copyable text, then this will be an option.
But today, so one of the streams earlier, they played some games, and then we talked a lot about data over the last couple of streams. So today we're actually going to go into Unity and make a thing, hit another thing, and bounce off that thing. And when I say we, I mean Nick is going to do it. But I wanted to say it's a nice timing because Unity just went public last week, so congratulations to everybody from Unity on that. So this is a really exciting time for game developers.
Absolutely. Is there anything else you wanted to share, Karen, at all?
Well, when people say that, like, I think it's your birthday. Happy birthday! Like, I don't,
no, not my birthday today.
Do I have something I want to share?
We're going to reference it a few times. Oh, go on.
We did. What do we reference?
Reference? What do you mean?
Oh, sorry, nothing. So today we're doing the game dev. What are we doing on Friday? We're doing a stream on Friday. Are you streaming on Friday again?
No, it's not me. So Joe Carlson on our team will be streaming with a member of the community, I believe. I don't have all the details on it, but if he's in the chat, definitely plug that stream.
Okay, great.
All right. I just lost my train. Oh, there we go. All right. So we're gonna mention it probably many times throughout this stream, like we do every other stream. It's also in pink down at the bottom of the screen. But become a part of our community. Ask us questions. Follow up with us after the stream. If you have questions regarding anything that we did, whether it be this stream, a past stream, or even if you have suggestions for a future stream for us. Check out that community. Likewise, the Developer Hub, which currently I have a staging version of it up, but if you wanted to go to the real deal, it's just developer.mongodb.com. So just some shameless plugs there. So should we jump right into the material, Karen, or do you have anything else?
Let me add one more thing. If you can go on that community tab. So, if you're learning MongoDB, like you see there's a little search box there, and you can just do a search for things that you had questions about. And if you still have questions about, go to community and post your questions. I spent a lot of time last night answering some questions. And one guy had a really cool question, like he was asking about search. And he was like, well, if I want to search products and then I want to get the author to the product, but then there's an index on that other collection, how could I do that? And as I'm answering this, I was like, oh, this is actually a really good use case to do and talk about. And maybe I'll write an app for it. Like, you could do the same aggregation dollar lookup, or you could embed data or something like that. So if you have questions, post them in there, and maybe you'll inspire a project that we could work on, and we could write a blog article or do a stream just to answer your question, because I think that's what I'm going to do with the question I answered last night. It was a really good use case.
Yeah, would be cool. All right. I mean, do you want to jump right into Unity? I heard you were going to run the show today, right?
You're hilarious. I'm sorry, I'm getting audio issues. I don't know what you just said.
Karen's going to get stressed out by all of this. So this is going to be our first kind of Unity stream as part of this series. So it's all data and backend prior. I am actually using the latest version of Unity, and I actually figured out this cool trick on Windows that'll let me zoom in on certain portions of my screen. But this is the latest version. I believe this is what we're going to be using for maybe this stream, maybe all of them, maybe some of them. I'll let you know if that version changes at some point between our series. But that's what we're using. So what we're going to do is we want to create a new project. The goal of this particular stream is just to get familiar, kind of lay some foundation to our game, so that way we have something to work towards. So let me get rid of that magnifying glass. I'm going to go to projects, and I'm going to say new. This is a 2D game. We're not building a 3D version of Fall Guys. This is a tribute game that we're calling Plummeting People. And you know what? I might as well just leave that magnifying glass there. I'm looking at this stream on my other monitor. It's kind of small. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this. I'm going to call this one Plummeting People. And I'm just going to save it on my desktop. And I chose the 2D option. I'm going to say create. We'll let that go for a minute. So Karen's actually a pro with Unity. She's been doing this for years. She's gonna poke holes at me and ruin the stream, right? Because of how bad I am.
I'm gonna play Stump the Chump. I'm gonna play Stump the Chump with you guys, like you guys do. Like anytime I talk about something, like, Karen, I have an expert question that I know you haven't thought about in 10 years. So
well, to clear things
Unity,
up, I'll go on.
No, I was just going to say, I was telling Nick, like, Unity is just like any other skill, or you start programming in it, and then you get busy with other things at work, and then you don't look at it again for like a year, and then you have to go back and you learn how to write about, like, you get on it again, and then but like yesterday, I'm like, oh, is debug capitalized? I don't remember that. So it'll come back.
Yeah, I'm not a Unity expert. I was serious about Unity like 6 years ago. I published some games to the App Store. Definitely not like a professional developer. Never did it professionally. So this, anything you see on this stream, just assume that there's probably a better way to do things. We're gonna polish this over time. It's definitely not going to be polished on this first episode. But as we progress through the series and start making a real playable game, let's expect that best practices will be followed at some point in time. Right, Karen?
We're eventually best practices.
Yes. Whereas anything with MongoDB, just assume that we're following best practices right away. Two different aspects to this. So let's yes. So I do have a new project created. It has a main camera as part of my scene. I also have my project, and this little window does get a little complicated for me to look at the magnifier, so bear with me. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on scenes. We have that one scene called sample scene. You can see it up top as well. But I'm going to actually rename it because sample scene isn't particularly useful for us. So I'm going to rename it to games, maybe game scene or gameplay. I'm just going to call it game scene. And that'll actually represent that, you know, this is where all of our gameplay is going to happen. And typically with scenes, you might have a scene for your menu when you first launch the game. You might have a game over scene. You might have a bunch of other stuff as well. But for this, at least for this video in the series, we're just going to have one for gameplay. I'm going to reload it. So we have our game scene. It reflects up top. If I expand it, hopefully my camera is still there. So I have my camera. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding a background to this particular little window. I know it's hard to see when I zoom over it, but there's a box there around the camera. We're going to add a background. We're going to add an actual box that we're going to use to move around. We're going to have maybe an obstacle that we can collide with. And that'll lay the foundation towards, you know, we're going to have one of X number of players. We're definitely going to have obstacles in our game with collisions. And maybe eventually we're going to replace those with actual decent looking sprites like the ones that are falling down on the actual background of our stream, which I think are actually pretty cool. Those were hand done. All right, so let's inside of our scene, let's go ahead and create a new object.
Hey, quick question about this art.
Yes.
Quick question about the art, because I didn't actually know. Like, Nick goes off and I don't know what he comes back with, like the good hunter gatherer that he is. Did you give him any direction about like this? Because I do feel like it is the embodiment of what I was visualizing we would do. But did you give her any artistic guidance?
I told her to, so our design team, I told her, look, do a Google search for Fall Guys. That's what we're interested in. And she actually used her imagination and did a fantastic job. So she used very little information and made something amazing for our theme background. So very impressive. Hello, Ian Hard 7XX. Thanks for joining the stream.
And thanks for coming back.
Checking the chat every once in a while.
I remember you from last week.
Yeah. Oh, was this person on last week as well?
Yes, he was. And
awesome.
He's new to MongoDB. And
glad you came back.
I'm glad you came back.
So did that answer your question? That was your question, right?
My question was, how bossy are you? Speaking of Nick being bossy, we went through this Unity thing, and since Eon's on, like, you can learn how we do things differently. So Nick just gets Unity up and he just starts pressing buttons. And I'm like taking out the manual and reading them. I'm like, you should, like, I feel like we're like some old, this is like the 21st century version of an old married couple where it's not arguing about how to change a tire. It's arguing about how to get a game up in Unity. So
nobody needs instruction manuals.
RTFM.
I'm going to say create empty. And this creates an empty game object. There's nothing going on with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename it because game object isn't a very useful name. I'm actually going to call it, let's say that this is going to represent our player. I'm eventually going to have another game object for the background, but let's start with the player. Now, I have not really downloaded or requested any sprites. I think I can find 15 minutes a day to zoom up coding mentor. Maybe Karen, you want to follow up on that question in the chat?
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't have any assets for Unity downloaded. We're gonna explore the asset store later. I actually created a 1x1 pixel image that's sitting around on my desktop. We're gonna make use of that. But before I do, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a new directory in assets, and I'm gonna call this new directory textures or sprites or whatever kind of makes the most sense for our actual images. So I'm going to call it textures. I'll also go ahead and I'll create another directory, and I'll call this one scripts. So this is where all of our code is going to exist. So I want to drop my 1 by 1 pixel image inside of textures, and this could be easily be replaced with another graphic, but we're just going to start small here. So I'm going to minimize this, and I have, let me stop zooming in because it's really weird to look at when I have that magnifying glass up. But I'm going to go into the assets directory. I'm going to find the textures directory, and I'm going to drag my white pixel into that directory. And if I look at what I have in Unity, if I go into that texture directory now, I have that white pixel. So let's go ahead and click on player. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag, actually I'm not going to drag, I'm going to say add component. And I'm going to add a sprite renderer. So this is going to allow me to add an image to this empty game object. So it looks something like this, and it's I know it's a little weird to look at through my magnifying glass. I can't zoom in on Unity like I can Visual Studio Code, so it makes it a little strange, right, Karen?
I don't even know what you're saying. I'm just
I
trying
know.
to straighten my eyes.
I'm testing you. I'm testing you.
We really are like
Anyways, what?
we really are like an old married couple right now. I'm like, you were talking. I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know what you're saying.
We have a sprite. It's none right now. What we want to do is we want to drag that pixel in to this sprite area. So if I double click it now, this player, we have this very small white box, which is good. And it's very small within our camera. So actually, let's make it a little bigger. Rather than it being 1 by 1, maybe we say that it's going to be 90 by 90 in size. So that way I can actually zoom out of my frame a little bit. And let's keep zooming. I'm scrolling. See, it's a little bigger now. This is my whole camera frame. And then this is my sprite, which I've now scaled to 90 by 90. Adrienne is confused. Yeah, Adrienne, unfortunately, is out sick today. So we had to fill her in with a nice graphic so that way she's paying attention to our stream, right?
Miss you, Adrienne. It's hard to gang up on Nick when it's just me.
I know, right? Karen has strength in numbers.
We talk about physics today, right? So
maybe we'll see how far we get, right? So we have this box. What we can do now is let's go ahead and get our background now. So I'm actually going to copy this object. So I'm going to duplicate it. So I duplicated it as player 1. I'm going to rename it. And I'm actually going to call it maybe background. And by default, even though that it doesn't look like anything here, there is a background. It's blue. It's kind of like the empty camera viewing. But, oh, I see people are going to mob me from the chat, huh? I see how it is.
Thanks for coming back here, me. Good. I'm so happy. I'm so happy.
So we have the background. Because I'm using a white pixel, I could actually change the color of it very easily in Unity. So let's actually change it maybe to a shade of green. And this is our background. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to resize it. So I'm going to drag the little corners here. And I'm going to resize it so that way it fills maybe just a little bit more than the actual camera. So that way, when I do play the game, like right here, I'll click that play button. I have a square and my green background. Let's stop playing. What we can also do for the sake of keeping our project clean is we can define sorting orders for each of our sprites. So that way we know that maybe background sprites are always going to appear behind game objects, regardless on what order they might appear in this game scene area. So what I can do is I can click on the sorting layer and add a sorting layer, and I can choose to add more sorting layers. So I'm going to say add. Your Twitter offers no messaging. Oh, for DMs. I think your DMs are closed, Karen.
Hey, Ian, just here, I'll just put just email me Karen KWH at MongoDB. There. Cool.
Right. So I added a layer for. How did you get that fancy email, Karen? I got this long one.
You have to have a super shitty last name. Oops, sorry.
Thanks, Karen.
I don't. Sorry. Like if your last name is Huaulme and nobody can ever spell it right, then they're like, just go by H. Sorry.
Excellent.
I think it's accepted word in many languages. That's what I'll try harder. My bad. Sorry.
All good. So I created two different layers, and you can see that when I start rearranging these, so I'll move that one up there. Let's see what happens when. Actually, let me set that like that for now. We'll go back. I'm gonna go to the background. So for one, rather than default, since this is background, I'm gonna call it the background. And then for the player, because this could be a game object like an obstacle or any kind of sprite, I'm gonna change this to game object. And now this is where the ordering comes in. And this is an optional step, but I think it'll help us long term. So if I start rearranging things, you can see how now the game object is behind the background. So it helps. It helps long term, so that way we don't have to worry about, well, where the heck is our other plummeting or our other plummy? Why is it behind our obstacles kind of thing? We can set layers. What are you storing today? Today we're not going to store anything today, I don't think, right, Karen?
We're just gonna bang around on Unity, I think. By the way, so Nic, the way he has Unity set up, and if you guys develop in Unity, he has the default configuration here, but there are many other different configurations. Everything inside of Unity, everything inside of most game engines is, the nice thing about Unity is everything's drag and droppable inside the game as well, and also inside your developer environment. And what Nic I'm just going to take a tiny step back here because we've thrown out a lot of new terms and just kind of say, like, a Unity game is made up of scenes, and scenes are made up of game objects. And an object can be many things. It can be the box that he has. It can be the screen. It could be the cameras. It could be prefabs, etc. And once you have, so on his left panel there, he has his game scene, and those are all the objects in it. And then inside those objects, you can click on it, and then the inspector, which is on the right side, you can affect all sorts of things with the so he's picking his game object on the left, and then he's setting certain parameters and things like that on the right. And then he can create scripts and things like that and attach them in many different ways in Unity. So he'll probably do different things. And then at the bottom, once we get into other things, if we went to console things, like there, whatever you need is here somewhere. But I just kind of want to give you guys kind of that overview because, we're kind of skipping from side to side. So
Yeah,
I hope that helps. So
I think it does help. Everything right now is just a lot of configuration. We're not actually writing any code yet. Are you drinking a Corona, Karen? Is that what's going on over there?
It's Topo Chico. In
All right.
Texas, Topo Chico is the champagne of water. Am I allowed to say
right.
Topo Chico? But that's how I think about it. So,
Are you getting sponsor money from that for drinking?
no, but like I remember, I usually drink. I'm from Texas, and I never drank sparkling mineral water when I was here, and then I left and drank who knows what Perrier, whatever. And I come back, and I remember I'm in a restaurant. They're like, "We don't have Perrier. We don't have Pellegrino. We have Topo Chico." And I was like, okay. She goes, "It's yummy." Like, who describes sparkling mineral water as yummy? It's water. But anyway, it is really good. So my husband buys
Awesome.
the thing. My real husband actually buys the thing where you insert the bubbles into the water, and I just really like Topo Chico. So yes, I am drinking champagne.
Wonderful. Love it. Love it. Um, where were we here? So we were ordering our layers. So we have our player, our background, and our camera. What we can do next is maybe we want to move this box around, right? Not even worrying about collisions yet. We're just taking it slow. But to move it around to actually accept input from the keyboard, we're going to need a script. So this is where we actually define some code. And we can do that by clicking on our scripts directory. And then we can say create. I just right clicked it. And I can say C# script. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this one player. So this is going to be a script associated to my player game object. It's going to potentially store inventory. It's going to store the position, anything that could possibly be stored with the player. Likewise, we would have scripts for maybe our obstacles, or scripts for items, or who knows. What we're going to worry about that when we get there. We're living in the moment, right, Karen? We're not thinking ahead. At least not until Adrienne's back. Yes. So you'll notice that it popped up with some very general information on the right. We're not actually going to code in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to double click it. And let me drag this window to the right side here. It actually, oops, figure out where it went. It actually opened it in Visual Studio Code. I tried to install the plugins for Unity ahead of time, but I ran into trouble, so I'm not using any plugins for this. It's just opened that C# file inside of Visual Studio Code. And it gave us a start and it gave us an update. We're going to be adding to them. We're going to be changing them. We're going to be using other lifecycle events as well. So the update is the renderer function. It gets called on repeat for every frame, whereas the start is only called when it starts up. So because we want to move things around, let's go ahead and go into the update. So it's going to constantly check for a key press. So to do that, I'm going to say input. Actually, I don't think I need the little viewfinder thing in Visual Studio Code. Oops.
Yeah.
Is that large enough, Karen?
Yes.
Yes.
No. Yes. Now
It's
it's
not?
good. Thanks. Now it's
All
good.
right.
I'm sorry. I'm looking in the wrong place.
So we have our if statement. We're going to say if the get key is we could use the arrow keys. I'm going to use the classic computer game keys. So W, A, S, and D. So if it's W, our intention is to move up. So what we can do is we can say transform, which is part of this particular object. And we can say, let's transform the position. And we're going to assign it a new vector. So I'm going to say actually plus equals. And I'm going to say vector 2, because this is a 2D game that we're working with. Otherwise, I would say vector 3, vector 2, and I'm going to say up. So essentially, what it's doing is it's doing something like new vector 2, and this is going to be 0.0f, and this is I believe we're looking at 1.0f. So it's just going to give a value between -1 and 1. So -1, 0, and 1. But we're going to say up. It's a little easier for us to work with. If I were to do that, I don't think it would work because we're not assigning a speed. We can try it, but let's save it. Let's try it. Let's go back into Unity. There's no maybe it did pop up with errors. That's not good, right?
I can't
let's go ahead. You can't see it. Sorry. Let me turn back on this magnifying glass.
Oh, I can. You know what? I just need glasses. It's ambiguous operand of type vector 2. It's an ambiguous operand. What was the operand?
I just use the plus equals.
Oh, okay.
I feel like that should be fair, but let's go ahead and check it out.
Ambiguous. Ambiguous is ambiguous. Like that's ambiguous messaging.
Let's check it out. So vector 2 up. That should be fine. Let's maybe, I don't know, just for the heck of it. Maybe there's
Do
some
the
kind
speed.
of
Put speed.
casting issue. I still have an error? Interesting. Maybe vector 2 won't work. Maybe I have to use vector 3. Maybe I was wrong this whole time. Let's try it.
Do you have to start and stop the game? Did you start and stop the
No,
game?
it worked. I never started it
Okay.
because it had
Oh,
errors.
okay.
So I guess it wanted vector 3 for this. At least for the vector up command. Maybe if I were to define just new vector 2, it would work. But because I'm using the .up functionality, let's check it out. So I'm just saying vector up. So let's press the W, and nothing is happening. And I assume this to be because I don't have any kind of speed defined. So let's go ahead and go back in. And let's define a speed, but let's have it so that way the player can actually change it from the configuration panel of Unity, not directly from the code. So something that we could maybe recycle. We can say public.
Okay.
We're going to give this a float. My C# is really bad, by the way, so expect a lot of errors because there are some
Adrienne.
differences between this and JavaScript.
Yeah.
Say speed, and I'm going to default this to maybe 1.5 f, and I'm going to times it by the speed. Oops. And let's try it again. Loading. I'm playing it, and it's still not working. And I know why. Can you tell me why, Karen?
No.
Well, you're the pro.
Get key. Well, okay. Why is it not working? Let me see the thing again. Like I do things like I would do
I'm
get
gonna mess
key
with
down,
Karen.
get key up, W, and get key up. What?
I'm
Are you
messing with you
stumping me?
until yeah.
Messing with-
I actually didn't add it to the game object. I have this empty sprite
Oh,
just floating around doing nothing. It's not associated to the game object right now.
So are you going to drag and drop it, or are you going to add it as a component in the
I am.
inspector? That's
No, I'm just gonna.
that's the major. This is one of the things
Yeah.
that there are a couple of different ways of doing.
Yeah, so I'm gonna click on player, and it's probably unreadable right now. So I clicked on player up here, and I am going to drag this player script. Oops, as a new component.
Just
here.
drag it in that big old box.
Yeah, so it added it. So I have a player script now. See, it's recognizing my speed because I have a public variable in that script of 1.5, and I'm pretty sure it's going to work now. And I'm going to try it without that speed too. Ooh, I think it went like light speed up. Let me check it one more time. I think it went way too fast, but I have a solution to that as well. Yeah,
Lower the
you see
speed.
it fly up the screen. It went like super fast.
Yeah.
So we actually have to change it so that way it follows a consistent frame rate with the timer of the game. So let's go ahead and go back into Visual Studio Code. I also want to try it without the speed to see what kind of impact it had. Yeah, same thing. All right, because it's gonna go at one speed, right? Not 1.5. Because all right. So there's a way. So what we want to do is we probably want to do something like times time dot delta time.
I don't actually
so
see your. Can you show? There you go.
It's not loading?
No, well now I see it. So I didn't see your code. Now I see it. Okay. Transform.
I'm also going to add back the
delta
speed.
times time delta.
So the time is Unity controlled, and so that way, if you're operating at like a high frames per second, it doesn't Because remember, this update is called on every frame render, and we don't want it to have a variable speed depending on the user's CPU or GPU usage, right? We want it to be consistent across environments. That makes sense, Karen? Maybe?
Yeah. I think your audio is kind of cutting. You
Is it?
sound really like a really scary monster from a really scary not from
Really?
Plummeting People game. We
Is
could
it?
do this as the voice for Plummeting People.
Is my network
Time
spazzing?
is created by Unity, controlled by Unity. Tiny or me. It could be me. No,
All
I
right.
think it's you.
It's probably me. My internet is not very good. So let's check it out. I totally forgot if I just saved it or not. Oh, I did. So it's nice and buttery smooth now, right? Did you see any of that, Karen?
Are you playing?
Well, I
No.
moved it up.
Do it again.
Well, I don't have it down,
Oh
so I only
yes.
have it up.
Mm-hmm.
But let's go ahead and check it
I
out.
see it moving up. Yes, I see it moving.
So let's go ahead and add the other keys then. I just created 4 different keys here. So this one's going to be down, and that's going to be S. So instead of vector 3 up, I'm going to say down. For left, I'm going to say A. That's going to be left. And for D, it's going to be right. So I should be able to move it around on the screen now. I'm going to hit that play button again to restart it. And you see that, Karen? All right, so we've got movement. So it's a start. It's cutting out for a second. Yeah, I'm looking at my OBS. It says I'm dropping frames because of network. Hopefully it corrects itself. If not, I'm recording it locally too. All right. Regardless, I'm recording it locally too, so the version that goes up on YouTube will be without issues. But yeah, I'm moving it around, so it's a start.
Are you still pressing? Are you continuously pressing the button, or once you stop pressing, does it stop?
No, it stops as soon as I lift up. If I wanted to, I could define other logic that says keep going until I hit a different key. Maybe, I don't know. We don't have any physics yet, so it stops because there's no physics. But if we add physics and we apply a force to this object, then it will naturally slow down based on factors such as like the friction and the weight or the mass, the gravity, things like that. Versus there's no physics on this at all. So that's probably a good next step. What do you think, Karen? For collisions?
I think that's a great next step.
Let's go ahead and add another game object.
If you go at the top, wait, I have another question. If you go all the way through the top, does it start coming up from the bottom?
The start coming up? Oh no, it does not. It goes indefinitely off the camera. But if you add your logic, you could always fix that. Should we try it?
Oh, actually, I've actually done that before. Yeah, I forgot.
We can try it. Let's we can say something like if transform dot position. What do we want to say is?
Are you sharing your coding screen again?
Yeah, I think there's probably a delay, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I see
it now. Yes.
I'm wondering if we could do dot y.
I know you think I'm kidding, and I promise you I'm not.
I know you're messing with me, right?
If Adrienne were here, I'd probably mess with you a little harder, but I just wanted to let you know today I'm going to take it a little easier on you. So, okay.
So maybe this would work. I'm just saying that we're going to reposition it. This might work. Equals, I don't know, what do we want to say, 200? I don't know the exact dimensions that we're working with. I don't even know if this will work. Could work.
I should have let you do the physics first. We'll just give it a gander. What's here?
It didn't like the transform? I don't know. We could always revisit it. What's
Cannot.
it complaining about exactly? Transform dot position.
You can't modify it. Cannot modify
All
the
right.
return value of transform position because it's
So
not a
it needs a
variable.
vector. Yeah, it looks like it needs a vector. So let's go ahead and say equals new vector 2. And maybe we say transform. I don't even know if this works. It might work. If this doesn't work, we'll explore other things.
Yeah. And we can do 2 now. We don't have to do 3.
We shouldn't have to do 3. That's the thing, because this is a 2D game.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll
So let's
revisit it.
go. Yeah, let's run it. Oops, I didn't get an error, so maybe we're gonna have some luck here. So I'm gonna go up. And that's
Hey!
actually no, I actually have it. Wrong.
Because it was supposed to start at the bottom and go back up again.
Yeah, where'd it go? I lost it completely. Oh, my axes are wrong. So when I go up, it's increasing. I was assuming that it was decreasing. So let's revisit that. So I think I saw that it was like 5. So if it's greater than 5, then we're going to make this as we can just say 200.
Like a
So
negative?
let's keep it like that. I don't think this will have any impact on our final game because it's kind of a side scroller. But you see up here how it's increasing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when it hits like 5, it should go back to the bottom. No, it jumped right to the 200. Oh, it should be
you want to be negative 5, right?
Yeah, probably.
But do you want to be...
You're right. Let's make this, let's just make it -5. And it's not going to be pixel perfect to the corners of the screen, but it'll serve the purpose, I think.
Okay. This reminds me of when I was a kid and I'd play Pac-Man. I'd go through the top.
There you go.
Then it'd come back out the bottom.
You see how it just came up the bottom. So, I mean, technically we did it.
Yay.
Yeah, we didn't need to, but it... Go on.
Oh, yeah, I was about to say you could probably do a tiny pinch if you wanted to. You could probably do a tiny pinch more than, like, how tall is the box? And then you could start there. Like he goes up.
So it's weird.
Maybe a 5.5.
So this is something that I need to look into. So I mean, I don't understand truly the dimensions of the camera. I mean, if you look at the scale, it's 1 by 1. The background size is this large number. So why am I using -5 and +5, right? It doesn't add up. So it's something I need to investigate. If there's any Unity pros in the chat who can clarify on the sizing factors, because it will be an issue later on when we start developing the game. We add some physics stuff. Let's go ahead and add an obstacle, right? Let's go ahead and duplicate our player. Should I zoom in, Karen? Or are we good?
Should you zoom in? No, that's okay.
I'm just going to call it obstacle. I've just duplicated player. Let's go ahead and change the sizing of it. So let's say 30 and maybe 180. And I'm going to move it over.
Are you making a wall?
Yeah.
Are you building that wall?
I am.
There you go. Really cheap.
What is going on here?
Are we making a Pong game?
No, it's just a wall. Don't overthink it. Because remember, we're gonna have in our game, we decided that we were gonna try to do the DoorDash level of Fall Guys, and there's gonna be doors in the way here, and they're gonna be random to be whether or not they're gonna be a fake door or a real door. So when our box or our eventual player goes down the line here and collides, is it gonna get stuck, or is the door gonna disappear? So it's valid. It's a valid
or is it gonna
kind
bounce?
of obstacle.
Or is it gonna Like these
Well,
are
yeah,
our
with
options that we think about. What do we want? We want it to bounce though, bounce off of
we
it.
want it. Oh, we want the player to bounce off. How far?
Well, I don't know. Or don't we? Like, isn't that what plummeting people do?
Oh, yeah, they kind of bounce. They kind of fall. We could add
They
some kind of
wiggle.
fall animation when the time comes to the
Mhm.
player, and during that fall animation, the player could be unresponsive. Kind of give the feel of the game, right?
Yeah.
All right, so we've got this other object. Let's go ahead and add let's go ahead and add a collider around it. So I clicked on the component. I'll zoom in on this because it's probably small. I'm going to search for box collider 2D, not 3D. And it added a collider to the obstacle, so that rectangle. And we're just going to leave it at that. We don't have a rigid body, so we don't have a physics body, so it's a static collision box. If we add physics, if we add a rigid body to it, then it gets all of the benefits that you would with the physics engine. So gravity and bounce and friction and all of that good stuff. But if I move this box into it right now, it shouldn't do anything because this, for one, this player doesn't have a collision box of its own. So let's go ahead and add one. I'll add a box collider. And we're going to leave it the same for now. And I'm going to hit play. Ooh. You know why
Are they
that's
both
happening,
moving?
Karen? Yeah.
Because you have the same script attached to both of them?
Yeah, because I duplicated it and it duplicated the script with it. So let's go ahead
Okay.
and
You can
delete
modify,
it.
take the, but
Hello,
you have two
magnifier. I got to
scripts,
get used
right?
to it. No, I only have one script, but the script can be applied on numerous objects.
Oh, okay.
So in theory, we're going to have a more generic, probably a more generic player script, which is going to go on all of our plummies in our game. It
Hmm.
won't control movement. We may have a local player script for local movement, but that
Why do we
plummies
need a script on the wall?
we
Do we
don't. I
need a
removed
script
it.
on the wall at all? Okay.
I mean,
Oh,
we will eventually, because if we have a script on the wall,
then it can.
then yeah, we can disappear or animate or whatever it needs to independently of the player. The player doesn't need to keep track of that.
Mhm. It could, like, for instance, if you hit a wall 3 times, it could disappear, and you could track how many times you've hit that wall inside of the
Yeah,
wall
maybe.
script. Okay.
So now if I move around, it works. But I've passed right through it, even though that I have collision boxes,
Mhm.
because I need to add a rigid body to my player, some kind of physics that is going to allow me to stop. Now, in the code, if I wanted to, I can check to see if I passed through it and kind of code my own way. But it's a little easier just to make use of what Unity already offers. So I'm going to go to player. I'm going to add a new component, and I'm going to add a rigid body 2D. Now, if I left it just like that, and I'm dragging around here, if I left it just like that and hit play, you're going to notice something that happens to the player. It falls right off the screen. It does that because I have gravity on that player,
It's on it.
and it
Yeah.
just fell indefinitely because I don't have a floor with any kind of collision. So let's just go ahead and remove the gravity, and let's go ahead and hit play. No
So you
longer
remove
falling.
gravity in the inspector by just setting it to 0.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm going to go forward, and now I cannot pass. It won't let me pass. But it has physics, which I didn't, it's kind of the default now, so it kind of rotates around. See how that's happening? It does that because that's what Unity does. And that may be something valuable to what we do inside the game, right? If we hit a player, maybe it disorients the player, like it spins him around, kind of thing. Who knows what we want to do? We're not there yet, right?
Right. We can put it up for a vote with our viewers.
We could.
So as a summary, you have these two objects. You have your box and your wall. The box is the player, which will eventually be a Plummy. You put collision detection on both of them, and
Yeah.
then you also put a rigid body onto a 2D rigid body onto the box, so that follows. And when you put in the rigid 2D body, you're attaching Unity's default physics to it, and then you modify that. Are those
Yeah.
the things
Now,
we went through?
yeah, that's what we went through so far. Now, I'm not a Unity pro. I have to reiterate that. I think you're not supposed to be moving around like I am if you have a rigid body. So remember, I'm just doing a transform on the position for this box. I think that when you have a rigid body, you're technically supposed to use movement in a physics-oriented fashion. So we could do that if you'd like, Karen.
I guess. You want to do it now?
You don't seem
I
so
don't
thrilled.
actually know what you mean.
So when it comes to
I,
moving this,
I
oh, go on.
I was just gonna say, like, it's just like I said yesterday. Nic's just like banging around on keys, and I'm like, don't you want to practice first? Don't you want to read up on it first? By the way, I have a fifth degree in physics. Yeah, I don't know what we're talking about. So we'll see.
Wonderful.
Go ahead.
Um,
Are you
yeah,
heading out? There you go.
I'm
Okay.
probably cutting out. My Open Broadcaster Studio says that my bandwidth is very low. Um, so it's
Oh,
possible. Um,
that's what
all
I'll
right,
get you for your birthday. Okay.
some faster internet.
You need faster internet.
I know, right? I'm here in California where all the tech is, and yet I can't get decent internet.
Yeah,
Um,
it is really funny to see, like, on the Caltrain, people get complaining about the internet.
yeah, I don't know. Just complainers, right?
So,
Just
I don't know if you guys can still hear. So, so what, so what are we, so what are we going to, so what were you suggesting that we do now? Are we going to modify the physics, or are we,
yeah.
or
Let's
should,
modify the physics. So there's two ways. We can either do a transform on the physics like we did with the transform on the game object, or we could add force behind the physics body. So you would know better than I do on force since you have a physics degree. Um,
can't
but
believe I said that. Can't believe I
I know, right?
volunteered that after all this time.
Let's go ahead and add a different lifecycle event. So the update, I believe, is applied after physics. And what we want to do is we probably want to do an update
Okay.
before the physics. And I could be wrong on the order of what those actually do. But from what I understand, you want to do void fixed update when you're working with physics. So in this circumstance,
Okay.
what we can do is maybe we try working with the force first and see where that takes us. How do you feel about that? We can hear. Perfect. New
Uh,
router.
okay. Oh, Captain, my Captain.
I don't know if it's my router. I am using an old router. I've contemplated seeing if a Wi-Fi 6 router would help me. But they're expensive, and I didn't want to gamble on it if it wasn't going to help me. I don't know. Um, but thanks for the suggestion, Rebecca. All right, so fixed update. Let's go ahead and see what we can end up with. So we want to add force. So the force we want to be able to define the movement. Um, so we need to. I don't know. I'm having a brain fart for a second here, Karen. I just lost my
Yeah,
train of
it's
thought.
messing us up. Well, remind me why we're going to fixed update instead of doing this stuff in update. Remind me.
Uh, because from what I understand, when you're working with physics, the way that Unity renders things, you want to do your physics operations inside of a fixed update rather than the regular
Okay.
update. Um,
Okay.
I'm not quite sure why. It's just something that popped up when I did a Google search on some of the lifecycle events that Unity offers. I could be totally wrong on it too. Let's actually comment this out. We're gonna because we're gonna move all of our operations down here, and things are gonna be slightly different. So for example, let's say if input dot get key w. So this is going to be for up. What we're going to say is we're going to say, actually we want to define our rigid body first. We need to get a reference to it because that's how we're going to be controlling things. So we can do that in our start. Let's go ahead and say, and let's define it first too. Private rigid body 2D. I think this is a lowercase. And we're going to call this rigid body with a lowercase r 2D. We're going to get a reference to it. So we're going to say rigid body 2D equals get component. So this is, it's getting the information from our actual player object from what I understand. And we're going to say rigid body. We're casting the type here. So it's a capital R. Once we have that, what we can do is we can say something like rigid body 2D dot add force, and we can say something like maybe vector. I was using vector 3 or vector 2. Vector 3 dot up.
You used the You used vector.
Oh, go on.
No, yeah, that's correct.
All right, and maybe times it by the speed. Let's go ahead and do this for each one. So this is going to be a D, an A, and well, that's a D. This is an S. This is going to be down, left, and right. And let's see what this does. So this should hopefully apply force to our game object, and it should move around.
Okay.
And it did not. So did I misspell rigid body somewhere? Looks like maybe. This is on line 15 or 10, one of those. So let's check it out. Oh, lowercase. There we go.
And you need to change it on the when you're casting it as well?
Yeah, it looks like type ahead or
private...
something changed it on me automatically.
Oh, okay.
I gotta fix my editor before the next stream, so that way I have all of the Unity stuff added. So I think this will clear things up. It looks like it made things worse.
Did you just change it on the variable though, or on the? Because I don't think you would need to change it on the variable. Maybe I'm disoriented.
Maybe I'm disoriented.
Can you scroll up to the top? Let's see. So private rigid body 2D. So that rigid body 2D, that doesn't.
When I say get component, what I'm doing is I'm getting the rigid body from here. So I'm getting the rigid body for the actual player object. But we're saying line 41, 44, 47. Work. This is one of those things where we may end up banging our head on it for a little while, right?
Scroll up to the top one more time.
Keep going or no?
Yes. Oh, hang on a second. Private rigid body 2. So that's the type, and that's the name of the variable, rigid body with the lowercase. And then that variable, rigid body with the lowercase, did you say that was from the component as well?
No, this one right
see,
here.
what I don't understand is the rigid body 2D with the 2 lowercase r's on line 10.
This is the variable name.
It's a variable name, but on line 15, that's not the variable name as well?
So we're defining the variable name, and then we're actually instantiating
but those
it.
are two different, right? But do you see that rigid body 2D there has a capital B, and that one has a lower B?
That is an excellent catch, Karen. I think you might have solved it.
I don't know. We'll see.
You did solve it. I would have never seen that.
That would never happen.
I
was like, I don't know.
And Steph found that as well. Man, that's embarrassing,
well,
right?
I was like, thank you and stuff. Well, I mean, like, if you guys are, if I'm driving the bus, I can't do a darn thing. Like I can't. It's just too many letters.
All right, so
okay,
it's
cool.
working.
So we're running.
You see how the motion is a little different? Like if I push up and I let go of the keyboard, it's still going because it hasn't slowed down yet. The force is being applied to it, and it's kind of getting pushed. So you get a different effect.
So you hit a thing and you set it into motion, and you don't have to keep hitting it. It's just floating.
Yeah, because you have to define the physics properties behind it. You have to figure out what the mass is going to be, what the friction properties, all kinds of this other stuff, which defines how objects move when force is applied. It's pretty interesting, and it's way over my head because I don't know anything about physics like Karen does.
Sounds super fun. Force is mass times acceleration.
Is that?
Speed of light is my password. Just kidding. Not.
But if I hit it, if I hit this, hold on. It spins at a different speed. Like, I don't know. There's all kinds of crazy stuff that's happening.
Have it hit the wall. Make it hit the wall.
This wall? See? It just collided.
No. Oh, I'm sorry. I keep watching the wrong screen. Okay. Oh, it doesn't. Okay, but that's another thing we could do. We can make it bounce backwards, whatever. Or destroy the wall.
You can Karen, Stephanie, and Scott? What is that?
I don't know. And it shouldn't be like that.
You can change the body type on the inspector. So, all right. I'll. What do you mean? Where for the player? Like, where are we looking for? I'd actually be interested in know what you're referring to. Oh yeah. All right. It's body type. So dynamic, kinematic. If we were to do that, I believe that we lose the collision effects when we do that, but we didn't. Hold on. No, it's still the same. Looks like the square.
So, but you're at dynamic right now.
Oh, did it not change? I thought I changed it.
Yeah. Okay, so let's do that, and then.
Yeah, I think we lose collision unless I'm changing it the wrong body type. Yeah, I'm also losing motion as well. So I'm hitting the keyboards. I'm not. It's not moving. So I don't think any force is applied.
Oh.
And static shouldn't move at all.
Static.
But so from what I think what's happening though is the velocity. So we can change the velocity, which would be different from the speed that we have initially set. So the velocity should change. I don't know. Does that change the acceleration too, Karen? And how fast it'll slow down?
Velocity would change the acceleration because it's a derivative. Acceleration is a derivative of velocity.
Yeah. The mass, I don't think we can change it to 0. It says the smallest is 0.0.1. But should be able to change the... Oh. When I changed the mass, it just flew off the screen.
well,
So maybe let's
don't have
set
so much.
it.
Oh, change the mass of what? You change the mass of the box or the mass of the wall?
Yeah, of the player. Yeah, now I
Oh,
just changed it to 10, and it's hardly moving. Need a little more than that. Yeah, there's a lot of things that we could probably play around with. It's going
like
to
that
involve a little bit
X-Man.
more research on us. What was that?
It's like, Scott, your name is not. No, that's Nick. I'm confused. But yeah. Okay. So good. So I think this is something.
Yeah, it might be a good
It's a long
stopping
work
point.
process. Yeah. And then we could figure out what the difference is between we could play around with physics a little bit more and then go back to I don't know, what are we gonna do next week? Did
Well,
we
I
talk about
mean,
that?
before we even get there, I mean, I just want to show the Unity Assets Store real quick.
Oh yeah.
So I don't think any of the three
That's
of us, Adrienne, me, or Karen, are very good designers. Karen and Adrienne are much better than I am, though. But if you go to the Unity Asset Store, you can find free or paid assets. Let somebody else do the work for you on that one. So we may explore the asset store for changing from boxes to something else. Although, based on the quality of the theme that we have for our Twitch stream, we may get our designers to create some nice pixel graphics for us to be used in the game. Right,
Yeah, and
Karen?
so sometimes we go to the asset store. There are things that are free that like other developers have created and they put on there, which is kind of cool. And then you can put things on the asset store that, you could buy or whatever, different things that you need. And it's funny because it's just a really good way of, um, you'll get like monsters and trees and ground and sun and, all these things that there's no need for all of us to reinvent the wheel all the time. So yeah, maybe next time we can sort of download some assets and instead of having a box, we could have I don't know, a robot hit a tree or something like that. I don't know. So those are things that you
Uh,
could sort of download quickly and change.
yeah. So we could play around with assets next week. Maybe we play around with fixing up our physics and our collisions, getting that polished. We can also look at trying to figure out how to side scroll our background to actually get a
Oh
playable
yeah,
level, right?
yeah.
We already hinted at it a little bit, like when it rolls off the screen it would come back up, but we can create some kind of effect with the background too, so it
I,
continuously slides.
I think we should assign that to Adrienne for next week. I think that's a nice
Yeah.
action item for her to take on.
So yeah, I mean after this stream
So,
I'll create a ticket for Karen to actually do this.
okay, I deserve it, I guess.
Turn the wall into glass with transparency. Beach. All right.
I think we're all
Yeah, I
getting
mean
big
there's
for our britches now, Jan
yeah.
Hart.
We're not Unity professionals here. This is probably our weakest subject matter of this whole game, but it's not that hard.
Like,
We got collisions, we got physics, we got sprites on the screen. That's half the battle, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, maybe a little less than half,
Yeah, probably.
but we're going in the right way. We know what the weapons are at least.
Weapons. We don't have any
So
weapons in this game.
just our mass. Our mass will be our weapons.
Is there anything you
Category
want to
show
add?
note. No, I think that was fun. That was fun. I think this was a nice change of pace and stuff. So, um, Ian needs a lot of help. Poor Ian. Between your internet and his laptop crashing, we're like, I expect more from us. So, okay. Have you cut out, Nick?
No, I'm still here.
Okay. I I I'm it's I don't see you on Skype, so I actually don't know if you're messing with me or not. But anyway, okay, so great. So we'll wrap up here for today. Maybe we'll play around a little more and we'll I can't remember. Did we talk about doing anything else for next week? Let me see. We do plan these. Oh, No, we don't. We plan these and then I delete out of it. What do we have on our
Plan them
document
to
for
an
next week?
extent. We don't go through it prior, but we at least have an idea of what we want to try to accomplish by the end of the stream.
Okay, so we'll download some assets, play around a little more than that, and then maybe we should do some more stuff on the data side too. Cool.
Yeah. I mean, before you know it, we're going to be able to get data from Unity within in the game, right?
Yeah. And again, that was kind of fun. It's always fun to see people to like have
Struggle.
a thing move, and then change something and have it move a different way. Maybe we
All
could have,
right.
instead of WASD, we could have like the actual arrows in it too, which is super easy. We'll just put an or statement or whatever, but that's how I do the arrows and not the WASD. So did I just age myself?
I don't know. I don't even know everything that you just said. I didn't understand. So,
We are like an old married couple. Okay. Well, I'm good.
all right. Well, everyone, thanks for coming out to the stream. You can find it on YouTube today or within a few days. Depends on how fast we can get it up. So if you missed anything, just play it on repeat and tell us what you think. See ya.
And tell us what you want to see. And we'll do it next week. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Bye.